This is Matthew Kratters, Bitcoin University, and today I wanted to talk about Bitcoin forest fires. Now, there are many fires on my mind these days, not just the markets, but also the forests that have been burning in Colorado and elsewhere. Now, when forests are not allowed to burn, lots of flammable organic matter builds up, which leads to much larger and more extreme wildfires down the road, and interventions by governments and their central banks lead to similar risks. For the past 25 years, the Fed has been actively intervening in every single financial crisis, bailing out bad actors, making sure that the bankers keep their bonuses while they foreclose on your home. And since at least the days of Alan Greenspan, the former Fed chairman, the Fed has pursued policies to kick the can down the road. For example, cutting interest rates to bail out the hedge fund Long-Term Capital in 1998, thereby causing a stock market bubble from 99 to 2000, whose implosion from 2000 to 2002 required engineering a housing bubble from 2003 to 2007, and that housing bubble itself imploded, took down the entire U.S. banking system, almost the global banking system in 2008 and 2009, and required the Fed and other central bankers to pursue a policy of endlessly growing their balance sheets from 2009 to the present, thus moving us closer to the end game, where even the central bank firefighters will be powerless to prevent the monetary forest from burning to the ground. Now, this was conscious policy that the Fed did. They were taking Paul Krugman's suggestion from the New York Times in August 2002, and he wrote in his column, "To fight this recession, the Fed needs more than a snapback. It needs soaring household spending to offset moribund business investment. And to do that, as Paul McCulley of PIMCO put it, Alan Greenspan needs to create a housing bubble to replace the NASDAQ stock market bubble." And this was real policy that was laid out by Paul Krugman and taken up by Greenspan in 2003. By 2010, the Fed's balance sheet had grown enormously, and Congress was asking Ben Bernanke, who was then the Fed chair, about it, and his quote was, "In the long run, the Federal Reserve anticipates that its balance sheet will shrink toward more historically normal levels." This is when the Fed's balance sheet was at just $2.2 trillion. It never shrunk. The bankers never shrunk it, and today that balance sheet is at $7.2 trillion. What do you think an appropriate reward is for a man who's been so wrong about everything? You can give him a Nobel Prize, or more specifically, a prize in memory of Alfred Nobel that he would probably choke if he heard about. If you're enjoying this video so far and finding it helpful, I just ask you to help to support this channel. Hit the subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment, share this video with a friend or family member. You can also leave a super thanks or a tip below, or you can also join the channel and get a few extra videos every month if you click the join button below. This is where Ben Bernanke in this February speech in 2010 laid out the fact that he was going to shrink the balance sheet and never did. And we can see where the balance sheet was when he gave that speech. It was down here at 2.2 trillion, got up to about 9 trillion at the end of the pandemic, and is now still well above where he promised it would be at this point in time. Now, unlike the fiat monetary system, there are no firefighters for the Bitcoin forest. The Bitcoin forest is catching fire actually all the time, and this fire is called volatility, as we've been experiencing, especially in the last few days. This volatility takes the Bitcoin tourists, it takes the paper-handed weaklings, it takes the leveraged degens and burns them to a crisp. They panic sell, they get rugged because they don't do self-custody, and they leave their coins on an exchange that blows up. And in the process, Bitcoin makes its way from the weak hands to the strong hands, and the Bitcoin ecosystem as a whole is strengthened, just like a forest that experiences many small fires. In Bitcoin, low time preference people and people who've put in the proof of work of educating themselves get richer, while high time preference people get poorer. And this is a very just and fair system. In fact, Bitcoin is the exact opposite of the fiat system, where the high time preference people get bailouts and bonuses and fake Nobel Prizes. Now, in forest fires in finance, you have a choice. Number one, you can choose artificially dampened volatility that guarantees never-ending monetary debasement, punctuated by the occasional financial crisis. This is the fiat path of endless bailouts, money printing, and monetary debasement. And we can see what it does to fiat currencies. They lose purchasing power over time. Or you can choose the second option. This is to choose an anti-fragile asset whose volatility cannot be dampened or domesticated. As we said, there are no bailouts in Bitcoin, but the monetary system as a whole remains much more robust as a result. The choice is yours. Do you want a low volatility asset that's programmed to lose purchasing power forever, like the US dollar? Or do you want a high volatility asset that's programmed to gain purchasing power forever like Bitcoin. You have to choose one or the other. There's no such thing as a high return investment with low volatility. Volatility can be dampened or hidden for a time, as it has been in private equity returns or sometimes in real estate, which doesn't trade on a daily basis, and so much of the volatility is hidden. Volatility can be dampened or hidden for a time, but then it comes roaring back with a vengeance. So everyone has to deal with volatility at some point or another, and it's much better to have many small forest fires, as you have with Bitcoin, rather than a couple very, very large, dangerous fires, as we have in the fiat monetary system. Some tips for surviving Bitcoin's volatility. Check the price once a month. You really don't need to check the price more often than that. Maybe even check it once a year if you can. Also set up automatic DCA, dollar cost averaging, where you buy a fixed dollar amount of Bitcoin every day or every week or every month in a very automated fashion. You can set this up to run automatically with Strike or Swan Bitcoin or River Financial. And it's important to remember as well that time in the market, time owning Bitcoin, is much more important than timing the market, to paraphrase Jack Bogle. Value your wealth in Bitcoin. That's another way to think about it. Don't measure the fiat value of it, but try to increase your holding of sats in Bitcoin over time. And think about your wealth in Bitcoin, not in fiat. You can also delete your social media apps. That will help a lot with stress. You shouldn't be doom scrolling on Bitcoin Twitter, for example. Read books instead, and here's a much more profitable place to spend your time than Twitter. You can check out Safe's books at the Safe House. Lynn Alden's Broken Money book is here, as well as Parker Lewis's Gradually Then Suddenly, and then Safe's 3 masterpieces, the Bitcoin Standard, the Fiat Standard, and Principles of Economics. You're much better to spend your precious minutes and hours and days in this very short life that we all have reading quality materials rather than just scrolling on social media. I love this thing from Alan Watts. So you just save in Bitcoin and focus on your craft. It's a peaceful life. This is all you have to do. You don't have to find the next fastest horse in the race. You don't have to switch and jump from one crypto to another or one stock to another. You can just slowly accumulate Bitcoin as your money comes in and as you try to spend less than you earn. And then you can focus on your craft, focus on spending time with your family and friends and dogs and cats and horses, etc. And then when you've been in Bitcoin for 10 years, maybe the volatility will begin to feel like this. The more you study Bitcoin and the longer you hodl your Bitcoin, the more the burning fires of Bitcoin will begin to feel like a cool breeze to you. You'll end up like the 3 youths in King Nebuchadnezzar's fiery furnace. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the subscribe and like buttons. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video. And let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.